Ladies and gentlemen, have you heard about the radical imams that are coming to evangelize Texas, that are buying mega-mosques, buying churches, literally setting up shop in the heartland of Texas and putting out videos saying this is Islamic country just waiting to be taken? I'm going to cover that today. I'm going to cover the Tesla attacks and what the FBI is doing, and I'm going to cover the geopolitics of what's taking place with Trump in Venezuela and the message that he's sending to other countries. But this is a program that does prophetic filtering of events. People call me up all the time and say, Lance, what do you think about this? And I began to realize, well, I spend a lot of time in two places. The Bible, 40 years of prophetic analysis, which is why I could predict Trump, why I could predict the rise of sheep nations, the populism. I've got a certain blueprint that is unfolding. But then, you know how we pay the bills? We have to do research on other things. The filter that has shocked me is the pharmaceuticals. I'm aware of the fact now that there are drugs getting into the water supply from human waste or whatever. Somehow, you may be like a real fanatic and, well, I never took the vax. Well, guess what? Those pharmaceuticals from 1,000 sources are in water. And then I was freaking out. Heavy metals, pesticides, and chemicals. And so I thought, well, how do you protect yourself? And then we found something out. We did some research on a water company that actually is called Century H2O. And what they do is they completely strip all of these things out of your water. You put this right into your sink, and then guess what you got? Water that has no value. It's like zero, no value whatsoever. So this puts the minerals back in. So what you're doing is you're taking out the dangerous stuff here, boom, and putting in the nutrients that actually cause your skin to get more moist. I mean, what these guys say is kind of phenomenal. They say that when you drink it, you're actually thirsty because for the first time, you're drinking water. It's kind of like eating good food. So I want you to go to lancewallnau.com. Just check it out. I'm putting it in my office, in my home. I talked to Annabelle. lancewallnau.com/water. Use the code Lance. And, be like me. Get 10% off. Take 10% off. It's not that expensive. And trust me, when it comes, now my peace of mind is there. This is what I want in the ice cube tray. I don't want that other garbage. I want to eliminate all the pharmaceuticals and heavy metals. I want to have the minerals in, and I want the garbage filtered out. And I'm actually going to install it myself. lancewallnau.com/water. And don't forget the code Lance to save 10%. Let's get into today's prophetic news cycle. And so we asked the question before our recent break. Trump is sending a message, two messages, by the way, two messages in that One True Social. One, he's designating his arrest of Tren de Aragua as a terrorist organization. Why would he use that language? Why would he put parentheses around this, or quotation marks around foreign terrorist organization? Because he's going to make that the argument with the district court judge, that the court is overreaching when it's dealing with the president's prerogative regarding terrorist-designated organizations. He's doing legalese here. Always multiple chess games going on in this administration. So who is Trump warning he's going to clip him for 25%? He's firing a shot over the bow to what countries that are now trading with Venezuela with oil?
All right, top buyer of Venezuelan crude oil in recent years, China. India was a major buyer. So it would be interesting. It said it was a major buyer before U.S. sanctions were intensified. So that's interesting. Russia acts as a middleman, helping Venezuela export oil via Russian companies to joint ventures. Iran partners with Venezuela for oil swaps, refining, and energy tech support. And Turkey, also a top volume buyer.
All right, here are the countries that are the enemies of the United States. China, Iran, Turkey. Now, China, Iran, and Turkey. Russia does not really want an adversarial relationship with the Trump administration. So they're a broker. India always says they love Trump, but they'll knife us in the back. Trump is sending a message now. I will deal with you, China. Already Iran has got a... By the way, China is buying oil from Iran and Venezuela. Why? In order to frustrate American foreign policy. because we're trying to shut down these economies of these hostile regimes. China is bolstering them and building them up. But they are as big a contender in the global scene as the United States, so Trump is careful how he picks his fight with China. So he's shooting over the bow right now, and he's saying, China, Putin, I'm trying to work with you, buddy. I'm telling you, Venezuela's treated me very badly, and I'm going to put a 25% tariff on any of you if the news comes out that you're continuing to buy. He could have said the following countries are put on notice, but he didn't. Turkey's another mischief maker. They're always after us. So Trump is using the power of our position. By the way, Deuteronomy 28:12, for those of you that are Christians praying and wondering, how does the news relate to my spiritual life? Deuteronomy 28:12 says, the Lord will open the heavens, the storehouse of his bounty, and send rain on your land and in season to bless the work of your hands. You will be a nation that lends to many, but does not need to borrow from any. When God is blessing a nation, and it's mercy on us right now, we certainly don't deserve it, but when God is blessing a nation, it includes economic strength, wise leadership, and prosperity for its people. That's why I wanted you to see these foreign companies that are investing billions into the United States. Who didn't you see there? You didn't see Russia, you didn't see India, you didn't see Iran. But America right now is regaining its trade leverage, and it's capturing, I think, a prophetic moment of restoration. And it's returning America to a capacity for self-government and definition. This is a blessing from God. And Trump, keep praying for him, because he's sending a message now to China and Russia especially. Hey, guys, and to India, don't be frustrating our foreign policy, because I'm going after Venezuela. And if you're my friend, you'll get out of the way. That's interesting foreign diplomacy. All right, so while we're on the subject of diplomacy, maybe we ought to talk about the price that poor Elon Musk is paying to be a patriot. I mean, he buys Twitter so that we finally have the beginning of the collapse of the control of the government over our communication. You realize the propaganda influence that Twitter was under? Literally, our intelligence services, our State Department was pressuring Facebook and Twitter into, how shall I put it? They were lying to people, creating fictitious news processes, news cycles, and shutting down voices. This is scary, what was going on. And if you're a conspiracy theorist, you'd say, I think the government's done. Well, we found out the government was creating news cycles of disinformation on Twitter and shutting down the Wuhan leak or the mask deficiency or the vaccine side effects or ivermectin, all of that stuff. Social media was under the control, the clamp, I would say a premature shutdown of American freedoms under the dictatorship of this socialist government, and Trump broke it. But Elon did it. Elon was the first guy in the private sector that put his money, billions he lost, to purchase freedom of expression, even so that ding-dongs can attack him on his own platform. But what's happening now with the, I want to take a look at this article on the New York Post that talks about Tesla takedown anarchists. There's actually a blog that doxes and exposes the site, a site map, so that if you want to go attack, play video 7. I want you guys to see this.
A website called conquest posted the alleged personal information of Tesla owners across the United States with an interactive map, including an image of a Molotov cocktail as the cursor. conquest claims to, quote, empower creative expressions of protest through exposing the names, addresses, phone numbers, and email addresses of Tesla owners, saying it will only remove the data if they can provide proof they've sold their Teslas. The map also includes Tesla dealership addresses, locations of Tesla superchargers, and the personal information of employees from Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE.
That's sick.
I mean, what are we talking about here, people? I really do think, I pray that Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, the Department of Justice and the FBI, will be able to peel back the layers of the identity of the individuals who have built these sites, populated them, propagated them, funded them. And I think we need to start to see, here we go, I got an article right here. FBI's new task force probing Tesla takedown. It's launched a task force to try to nail the criminals. I pray, Lord, that you succeed in exposing these acts of domestic terrorism. They've had 48 instances, folks, this month related to Tesla vehicles, dealerships, charging stations that have all been attacked, firebombed, shot at, swastikas painted on the vehicles. They have a 10-person task force, wish they had more, that are special agents in the intelligence field, and they're going to go out there. Now, I think we need to move very fast on this. I think we need to make a public display of the arrests and the rapid prosecution of the activists so that these acts of violence, vandalism, and domestic terrorism are pursued with the full force of the law. That's Kash Patel. He's unequivocally clear that he's going to go there. A Tesla Cybertruck was lit on fire in a storage lot in Seattle, Washington. 7 Tesla charging stations were set ablaze in Littleton, Massachusetts. What do these places all have in common? Liberals run the city. Progressives have activist organizations, just like in Austin. It's a hotbed for the crazy environmentalist community. 2 Molotov cocktails in Austin, there it is. Las Vegas, Nevada, another attack. Oregon, not surprising, Tesla dealership shot at. And California with Nazi scum spray painted on vehicles. And back again in Seattle, Oregon. These are the places, but I wouldn't even be surprised if these are actually the Antifa activists who are on somebody's list of funded anarchy. And you know what? It's time it got exposed. Elon Musk, I love the Babylon Bee. Do you guys have Image 8? For those of you who can't see it, Elon Musk disguises the IRS building as a Tesla dealership so the Democrats will burn it down.
Mm-hmm. You know what's crazy, though, Lance, too, is like you think back with the Dylan Mulvaney stuff, and we're like, we're going to protest, beer companies. We're going to protest Target. I mean, that's what a normal person does. You would protest it, right? You won't buy it. You won't shop there. You might trade your own vehicle in. But what in the world is wrong with doxing people and then violence? I mean, there are some videos I've seen online where a mom is attacked in her car and they're like beating on the window and, people driving by and just flipping people off who have Teslas. I'm like, what? There's like, when you talk about like Trump derangement syndrome, it's like full blown. And I think, again, like you look at moderate America, you look at everyday Americans and they go, we're done with the violence. Like enough already. That if that's where your starting point is, if that's where you're at, there's something wrong. If you think violence and vandalism of property and threatening other humans over the fact that you're driving a Tesla it's bizarre. I mean, it's misdirected anger 100%. It's mental illness.
I think the Democrat Party better get a handle on its radical base on the left, because if it doesn't, it's really creating an opportunity for branding to stick. I really wish that Donald Trump would not always talk about Joe Biden. It's a mistake he makes. The only criticism I have of him is he keeps talking about, but nobody could care less about Biden. It was never Biden. He's got to start labeling the extremist Democrats, because unless they're coming out and speaking against what's happening in their own states, in their own cities, and saying this is unacceptable. Why aren't you saying that? Why aren't you saying they should be hunted down like little Michael? Why aren't you? What is your feeling about what's happening in your community against the Tesla owners? They need to own the fact that they have to disown their own radical base, because this is one party that feeds this insanity, and they're not stopping it. We'll be right back.
Clean, safe water. It's the foundation of a healthy home, but hidden contaminants could be putting your family at risk. That's why there's Sentry H2O, the smarter way to protect what matters most. It filters out what doesn't belong and restores what your body needs. Pure, mineral-rich water that tastes as fresh as it is clean. Because your family deserves more than just clean. They deserve water that supports their health. Go to lancewallnau.com/water and use code LANCE to save 10% on your water wellness system. That's lancewallnau.com/water. Code LANCE.
This is our final and last. I can't believe time flies when you're having fun. And we have to learn how to have fun, people. I know that, I'm not sure in covering all these things, I'm capturing the right zeitgeist, the right state of mind. I think the way that we ought to be looking at this is a proxy war between heaven and hell. I'm a Christian. I got into news and media analysis because I realized that there's a spiritual warfare that's working out through the puppets of people and circumstance, that world events are actually the theater that manifests the unseen battle of spiritual forces. If a Christian can't pick up a newspaper and see how to pray and what's going on and connect the dots, then you're not really literate yet on how to see the world with an informed biblical worldview. Because, as I was just saying earlier, China and Iran and Turkey and Russia, these are all geopolitical principalities and powers vying for dominance on the globe. The United States right now is resetting the world. Trump being in office during this period of time is a global reset. You ever hear him say this? He's so funny. He goes, everywhere I go, people tell me it's lighter. It's even brighter around the world. It's lighter since you've been in office. In his own kind of quirky way, he's saying the spiritual environment on the earth is even more hopeful, that there's possibilities of stability and change and peace. Maybe an end of wars between Russia and Ukraine, maybe Gaza and Hamas. Maybe we can work something out that's going to give Israel stability. And he's right. By the way, I want to say that these Yemen airstrikes are freaking people out, but way overdue. The White House claims the Yemen airstrikes took out top Houthi missile expert. And there's 40 million people in Yemen. I was surprised to see how large a country that is. I do not believe the majority of those people are happy with the fact that their leadership is constantly tribally trying to pick fights and wars, and that all of their prosperity is subject to the crazy decisions of a military government that is a proxy for Iran. In other words, Iran funds them in Yemen in order to be a threat to Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia and Yemen have this problem. And the Biden administration did nothing to deal with it. Now, they told the Saudis to back off, actually. And so now Trump says, no more attacking American vessels. He takes it very personal when an American vessel gets attacked. He doesn't like it. He will take them out. So he's opening up the sea lanes that were blocked up, causing billions of dollars of extra expense to have to go down around the Horn of Africa because you couldn't go right through the sea lanes in the Middle East. So Trump says, enough of that. We're just going to do airstrikes and knock them out. So he's sending a message now to Yemen, bam, because he's closing in on Iran and its nuclear program. Iran funded Hezbollah. Iran funded Hamas. Hamas attacked brutally Israel, and Hezbollah then attacked. And Israel has been successful in degrading and eroding their ability. You need to know this is spiritual warfare, geopolitical principalities and powers in conflict. So when you pray for the peace of Jerusalem in your own simple little prayer, this is what you're praying for. Israel's killing Hamas leaders in quick succession. Well, they won't give the hostages up. They're not going to settle for peace. They're not going to solve this problem in Gaza. So Trump turned around and told Netanyahu, do what you got to do. So they're trying to do precision strikes with their intelligence ability, and they are successfully taking out Hamas leadership, continuing to the problem is they set up their underground tunnels under hospitals so that it creates a problem for how to do it, but they still do it. Now, here's an interesting development I want you to catch. We only have a few minutes left. while Israel is eliminating dozens of top Hamas leaders after the ceasefire collapsed, Trump still likes the idea of Trump land over there at Gaza. You know, once this thing is settled, he wants to bring peace to the Middle East, stop that war with Ukraine and Russia, open up the sea lanes for business. And if we can keep the Democrats and the deep state from destabilizing his regime and trying to sabotage and blow up his progress like a Tesla, then America's going to sail into some strong economic stable times, at least more than we've had over the last 8 years. The report is now coming out, and here's Breitbart, which is always good reporting. Joshua Klein says the U.S. is warning Egypt to accept the Gazans, or going to have to be billions of aid, $1.5 billion. I don't know if there's enough there. $1.5 billion in military assistance from the United States goes to Egypt. My concern is, well, they just don't want the Palestinian. You understand that every time the Palestinian people that our campuses are so, teary-eyed over, every time you take them in, whether it's Jordan or Syria or Egypt, you have camps of armed anarchy. Now, here's the problem. Children are educated to hate. And I saw this years ago, and it struck me as being too little too late. I said, you got a whole new generation of children being raised up in Gaza who are being educated to celebrate the hating and the killing of the Jews. Now, if you raise a child to hate, you're going to create a pathology in your culture. This is why the first two waves of military that came out of Gaza into the Israeli kibbutzes and communities that were killing and raping were followed by a wave of citizens, of cheering people that followed the third wave out with cell phones, calling home and bragging about how they were taking out the Jews, because it was almost like they were performing some kind of like the Bible says, the day will come when they'll kill you, thinking they're doing God a service. The point is, Egypt doesn't want these people because they're not really a neutral people that are looking for a free homeland. When I was in Samaria just a couple of weeks ago, I woke up to the news that we had 5 buses designed to have children going to school, 50 children per bus. And the buses were all wired to be bombed, but they mistakenly set the bombs for 9:00 p.m. on 2 of the buses, so they blew up. And immediately the Israeli IDF went and disabled 3 other bus bombs that were set to go off at 9 a.m. Folks, this is in the Samaria, Judea area, which you would call it the West Bank. It's on the other side of Israel. You got Gaza over here, and then you got the West Bank over here. Israel has a problem, and the problem is that, just telling you, 70% of the Arab community was surveyed about what they felt about the Gaza attack, the Palestinian attack on the innocent Israelis. And 70% actually felt sympathetic, believe it or not, for the Palestinian cause, still, even after the attack. Well, that tells you that Israel has a problem because they want to live peacefully with their Arab community, but that will never happen as long as there is a hope that they can consolidate power and annihilate the Hebrews. It's a spiritual. And I'm telling you, it goes down to the education process, the education mountain, and the willingness to train children in how to think differently. Now, this doesn't represent all the Palestinians, nor all the Arabs, because I've got Arab mayors and Arab friends that I work with in Israel that don't represent that. They're like, I'm probably hanging out with the 30% that don't agree with what's happened in Gaza. But how would you like to live there, knowing that you're working next to an Arab and they're 70% of the population, you're 30% of the population, or they're 80%, you're 20% in certain cities, in areas that I was in. You're working side by side, and you're thinking to yourself, I don't know if they're sympathetic with people killing me or not. That's not a healthy place to be. The only hope, if you want to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, Israel has to own Samaria and Judea. There'll be a big problem when it's announced, but there can be no two states, because if you have two states, you have what happened in Gaza. You have a state that has radical elements that want to eradicate your existence. You can only have two states if they both want to live together and love together and work together and be mutually supportive. That's not the case with the Palestinian cause. This is the subject people don't want to get into. But, I've had to get under the, the hood down there and take a look at this. And I realized that Mike Huckabee's up for confirmation, by the way. And let me just, I only got 2 minutes here, but it goes to a question. I want you to go to image 11, alert. Amy Meck is just announced something, and I got a whole lot of traffic on X on this. You want to go to @Lance Wallnau, you can go check this. 2 more radical imams have just announced their move to Texas to join the fight to make Texas the holiest place for Islam in the United States. Radical imams are moving in. Mega-mosques are going up. Churches are being converted into mosques. Shadowy Islamic groups are quietly purchasing large swaths of land. And your elected officials are silent, politically correctly gagged. Islamic leaders are openly declaring victory. We thought Texas had cows, they said, white people in desert. But now we see Texas has Islam. This isn't immigration. This is a thing called Hijra. Hijra? You have to give me a pronunciation. Islamic migration for the purpose of conquest. This is replacement, not coexistence. Urgent warning to radical imams relocating to Texas to build a mega-mosque, converting churches and accelerating the Islamic takeover in the heartland of Texas. Folks, I'll tell you what this suggests to you. What land you don't occupy can be used and occupied against you. The territory you do not occupy can be occupied against you. It's what the Lord told the Israelites. He said, if in the land that I send you, if you do not occupy it, then the inhabitants of the land will multiply against you and be thorns in your side and pricks in your eyes. They will be your enemies and they will terrorize you. You must occupy the culture and create the culture that is conducive to flourishing. That can't happen if the political class in Texas is cowardly or surrenders because Islam is coming to Texas. Makes sense. The devil will go for the high places. Well, we'll cover this in greater detail later on. I'm telling you that even though these things are happening, I believe we're in a day where God is on the move. And even the fact that I could read that to you and alert you to it means that there'll be something mobilizing against that. And we'll be covering that in greater detail in the future. Mercedes, any thoughts as we conclude our show today?
Just you did great today. It was a good show.
All right, we had a good show, and we're going to be picking up more on Jesus is on the move. He's on the move right now in ways that you haven't seen. And it's a powerful thing to be alive during America's third great awakening, our first Reformation. We'll see you again tomorrow. God bless.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world